Kia ora anō. I'm Tim Pratt. I'm part of the small team at CWS, and our job is to represent the church in responding to global aid and development. CWS has been doing this stuff for a long time. In fact, this year we celebrate 80 years. And so it seems as if we are the oldest aid and development organisation in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'd like to take this morning's readings, Jesus calming the storm and the vision and revelation, and to weave them together into this beautiful picture of what we as the church could be like. It's a story of compassion and justice, and of doing to others as Christ has done to us. And the way I'd like to talk this morning is quite simply to tell you a few stories around the theme of water, because, well, it's such a rich theological theme. This painting is by the Dutch artist Rembrandt, who was renowned for his use of light and dark to capture drama, emotion, and mood. Something like a third of his pictures are religious, and so often they're telling a spiritual story. Of course, the Dutch are a pretty serious seafaring nation. The country is well known for storms crashing along its coastline as they came in from the North Sea. And then there's Rembrandt's personal life, which itself was full of trauma and drama. So it's not surprising. This picture absolutely nails exactly how the disciples must have felt. Well, a few years ago, our daughter and son-in-law decided to buy a small yacht. Our family have had boats pretty much the entire time that Catherine and I have been married. But Alicia was never into the sailing part of it. While we were out there battling wind and waves, she was to be found somewhere inside reading a book and enjoying herself. So it was a little bit of a surprise to us, this sudden interest in buying a boat. But because neither she nor her son-in-law knew how to sail, well, they asked me to skipper the boat on its maiden delivery voyage. The trip from Kerikeri in the Bay of Islands down to Auckland is something like 240 kilometres. It takes around 25 hours if the weather's cooperative. Well, the day we set out, Labour weekend, the forecast was good. It's a couple of hours to get from Doves Bay, where we were, to Cape Brett, the hole in the rock. And so far, all was well. We had a great wee sail across the bay, and I was thinking, gosh, they've bought a good little boat. But as we were making our way down the coast, well, the wind began to betray the forecast. It was building. By dusk, it was up to 33 knots. And in sailing terms, that's wind warning, especially for such a small boat. My crew had gone very quiet. They were no longer enjoying the trip. Tavita, Alicia's husband, who is Tongan, well, he wasn't looking Tongan any longer. He was representing more of an alien. He was looking quite green. As it was getting dark, the wind turned angle. And that meant not only were the waves building, but they were coming, hitting the side of the boat, and they were pushing us towards the rocks on the coast. I'm trying to see where I'm going. The problem is the waves are crashing on the bow, sending water hurtling up into the air. And as the wind picked up the waves, they gave it some force, and the sheet of cold, salty water was continually hitting my face. I decided we were going to have to take shelter in Whangaruru Harbour. It's about half an hour away. Now, usually I'd go between the island and the mainland, but that night it was way too dangerous for that. So it was going to take another half hour for us to sail past the island and safely turn then. But gosh, it was tough going. I remember thinking this is the worst storm I've been through in over 35 years. I'm aware my heart is pulsing. The adrenaline is also going through my veins. Finally, the moment arrives. We've cleared the island, just the tack, just the turn to go. The problem is the boat's overpowered, and I wonder if I'll be able to pull it off. Will the boat come around? Will it turn? And I remember thinking, gosh, it's seriously unlikely. You know that sinking feeling you have in the pit of your stomach? Your mind seems to take a direction all of its own. It panics. You see everything going wrong. Everything's becoming a calamity. Well, after a quick prayer, because it's amazing how spiritual we become when we're desperate, I then wait for a lull in the wave pattern and in the wind. And then I pull that wretched tiller as hard as I possibly could. The boat slowly edges up to the wind. Everything starts going in slow motion. The boat begins to go flat as we lose the pressure of the wind in the sails, but we're still pitching up and down. And then I remember ever so slowly the boat beginning to lean to starboard, which was telling me we'd got through the eye of the wind. We had completed our turn and we were out of the danger zone. Well, we motored another 45 minutes to get up the harbour, as far as we possibly could before we dropped anchor in safety. I get the story of Jesus calming the storm. It's a beautiful story that reminds us God is with us. God is in us. And when times are tough in life, God's there in our midst to comfort us, to support us, to guide us, to help us get through. The chances are some of us are feeling as if we are in the thick of it, the thick of life today. And we could well do being reminded that when the going gets tough, that's the time to lean into God and to rely on Jesus. Sometimes we need to reread those verses from Psalm 23. And if this is what you need to hear today, well, hear it. Take it and own it as your own. There are times in life when we need our faith for us. There are also times when we need to give our faith away to others, to follow our values and to follow the way of Jesus. And this giving, this taking of our faith is an iterative process. Sometimes we need to experience the comfort of God for us when it's us who are going through the midst of the storm. But there are also times when we've got capacity to give our faith away, to give it to others as they're going through life's storms. I love the picture from Revelation chapter 22. It captures beautifully this idea of giving our faith away, giving God away. It's a picture of the church. It's a picture of Christians. Well, it's as inspirational as it is prophetic. We, the church, like water enriching humanity, flowing out of our worship down into the streets, watering people's lives. We, the church, being healing to the nations. It's a pretty cool picture. How do we become that vision? Well, it's about how we care for others. It's about how we live out the values of our faith. It's about how we love one another. It's about how we care for our family, for our friends, for the people in the communities in which we live, but it's also about how we care for the world. Just over a month ago, I visited the partner we have in Isingiro, Uganda. Well, this little rural town is well and truly out in the wop-wops. Once you've flown to Africa, you land in Entebbe, the main airport in Uganda. And then you hop in a car, you literally take your life in your hands. You drive for something like 7 to 9 hours southwest until you get close to the border between Tanzania and Rwanda. Isingiro is a pretty wee place. It's very rural. When I was there, it was dry, it was dusty. The place is also poor. In parts, it's extremely poor. People grow and they live off green bananas. They call it matoke, and it's just like, well, mashed potato. Out in the hills, there are a ton of little village settlements. It's serious four-wheel drive territory. In the township, there's piped water, but once you get out into the hills, not so much. To get water, you have to walk. and sometimes the people walk 3, 4, 5 kilometres simply to get water for their family. None of the water is good, but it does come in different grades. So the closest water, it comes from dams that they have dug out. It's seriously bad stuff. Forget about the colour of it. The cattle go there and they drink. And as I was standing there, I could see the dung from the cattle around me. It was on the ground, but it was also in the water. Further afield, there's spring water. It's a little bit better in quality, but the minerals and the salt make it super hard. Sadly, it's also full of germs, bacteria, parasites. Then the third source of water is even further afield. It's the river. You can get water there all year round, but man, is it a long, long walk, something like 6 kilometres for most people to get to. Isingiro is the stuff of the World Health Organization statistics. They say that something like 1.4 million people will die each year from lack of safe drinking water. They'll die due to diseases like cholera, dysentery, hepatitis, and polio. The journey to get the water means that mothers are not able to care for their babies as they would wish. It also means that kids aren't able to get to school. To make it even worse, it's not physically safe to walk. When I was in Uganda, this man read a wee speech he had prepared for me. He's one of the village leaders and his name is Sedurak, and this is part of his speech. He said most of the people get income from casual labour. People are paid about $1 a day. Due to our topography, water shortage is a problem. It leaves our health prone to many challenges and diseases. We can only get water from down the hills. That's about 4 kilometres from here. Safe water can only be got from the river Kagera. It borders Tanzania. As a result, our wives are raped on the journey. Our children are defiled. Others are kidnapped or killed. Water is the major problem in this community. Back in 2008, one of our CWS family, John Gould, went to an academic conference on water that was held in Nairobi. Whilst he was there, he met this man, Charles, who was from Isingiro. And Charles had a vision of building water tanks that would be caught from the roofs of the very simple houses where people live. I guess it was during a morning tea break he bumped into John and the two of them got talking, and as they say, well, the rest is history. To date, CWS has built something like 1,500 water tanks in Isingiro. When I visited with Charles a month or so ago, he wanted to show me over and over again the need of people in the hills, just to make sure that I got it, just to make sure that I really understood that the people there were poor, tragically poor, that they desperately needed water. But look, the truth is, within 1 minute of standing by that man-made dam, looking into the eyes of the kids, well, the need was incredibly obvious. Currently, we're helping build 50 tanks a year. Our goal is to multiply that, to double it, hopefully this year to 100 tanks. And then the following year, our hope would be to increase it again up to 200. For me, this is the stuff of Revelation chapter 22. Water flowing from the throne of God, giving life to people, giving life to those who are suffering amidst what is for them a wretched storm. Last year we raised just over $300,000 through our Christmas appeal, and I'm hoping and praying that this year we might get up to $400,000. So sometimes we need Jesus to calm the storm that's in our own lives. Sometimes we've got capacity to give our faith away, to help calm the storm that is in other people's lives. If you've got capacity just now to show the same care, the same compassion that Jesus was famous for. You may wish to be that river of life in Revelation, flowing from the throne of God, watering trees, watering the lives of people, including the people who live in the hills in Isingiro, Uganda. Each year CWS runs a Christmas appeal. We've been doing this for 80 years now. And so if you've got capacity, we invite you to take home the little brochure that you've been given this morning, to fill it out and to support the people of Isingiro. Well, my time has gone. May God bless you all. Mā te wā.